Hey there, beautiful internet and you superb creatures of the beyond. How are you, my adorable bastards? So, this is the blender, which we're going to blend some stuff. Initially, I thought I was like going to make another Inkscape video, but then I realized, well, Inkscape is not that different than Blender, put that in quotes, because basically we have X and Y, but they also had the Z axis. But basically, if we would create something on X and Y, like on this plane, we would have the same thing as Blender. We just change perspective if we really want to see things from an extra perspective, and we're having the third dimension to have the box extend, extrude, or whatever. So it's interesting. It's quite similar. Uh, and for example, we can see the vertices, easy to edit. If we're looking at it from X and Y, it's exactly the same. The only problem is like if we only move one, but if we want to move them both, we have to select both and then you move everything, and it's weird to say the least. Um, I'm not even sure how to present this thing to you guys, but I thought like, hmm, Blender is this weird thing because the similarities between Inkscape and Blender are like from the sun to the moon. They may act a little bit the same, but Blender is Inkscape if it had a baby with, I don't know, Maya 3D or what's the other one? I forgot. 3D Max, 3ds Max. So yeah, it's funky. The user interface is not super friendly, but then again, Inkscape is not super friendly to beginners either. And the more you warm up to it, the more you discover how to play around. In essence, it doesn't look complicated, but it actually is. This is a software that I can tell you from the start it is complicated. But if we're just gonna stick with the basics, we can make some interesting things. So I'm gonna hide the light and the camera. Also, this doesn't work like Inkscape. You can't actually move things and group them exactly. It's complicated. There are many types of groupings and so on. But again, don't get scared by it. Then the interface here is quite complex. You would have to go through each thing to test it out. It's gonna take a long time. I'm gonna just simplify things. And I'm gonna show you how to do things the easy way. So you don't have to learn every button, but there is one particular thing you have to understand. There are two modes. This is the object mode, where basically we can just move the entire object around. And to move, we select the move option, but it works differently than the short key. So that's something to keep in mind. So basically what I did was moving it like this, but now if I let go, it does stuck where I left it. But if I go back into this, and if we go over move, we see that the short key is Shift space bar G. So if I press G, only G, I can move it like this. If I press escape, it's gonna go to that. If I go Shift space bar and I press G, now I get this. It's weird. Um, Now the cursor will be quite interesting. The cursor is like you're trying to, well, the cursor has many functions. And it's like a helper to set yourself axes. So for example, right now, our axis is at 0, 0, right in the middle of this object, right? But I could go for this cursor. Well, in this case, I can just go select object, set origin. Where is the cursor? Cursor. Damn it. Is it Control A? Ah, so many things. Yeah, basically, this cursor, you can place it somewhere wherever you want. You just press Shift and move it. Can I move you? Ah, with right click. Ah, he's so weird. You move it somewhere, and now over there, where it's set up, it's like another set of coordinates. But this is meant, for example, now if I want to put the center origin of this thing, this is like the basically when we're rotating, for example, this cube, I rotate it around the center origin. But I can tell the center origin of this object to go to the 3D cursor, origin to 3D cursor. And now if I rotate it, it rotates from that. So that's kind of a helper to set yourself wherever you want. There are other ways to do this, but that's the basics. And I don't even remember how you can. There was a way to reset the origin of this. Blah 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 blah. I don't know. Just go away. Anyway, actually we do need it. How do I reset it? Object. Duplicate parent collection. I am so so lost. I really don't know. Because I can't remember right now. Quick convert. I know there was an option, but I just forgot it. Geometry. Well, no, not this one. Well, whatever. It's somewhere. Let's just try to put it here. Whatever. It's in the center? Of course not. Of course it isn't in the center because I hate you. I hate you with a passion. Let's just do um, oof. 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 Let me reset this a little. Just a moment. So file, open recent, bam, don't save anything. So we're gonna hide the light and the camera. Okay, I fixed it. Whatever. The point is that we have a cube here. We want to destroy this cube, so we'll press delete. The key delete, and it disappeared. Now, I have added a reference over here in the background. Initially, I wanted to make this in Inkscape, but I thought, well, this looks interesting. So we're just gonna keep it as a reference. We're not going to build on this angle, but I'll show you exactly how we'll do it. Quite easy, quite simple. So what we want to do is add a new mesh. To do that, we're just gonna go to add, or you press Shift A, add mesh, and we're gonna add a plane. So this plane is just a plane with 4 stupid vertices, and it does exactly what it has to be doing, existing here. But we want to do more with this plane. So what we're gonna do is right click it. So we created the plane. Yeah. Right now we're in object mode. We want to edit this plane because right now if we're moving it with pressing G, we can't do anything to the corners or anything. We have to go from object to edit mode or pressing tab. Now we are in edit mode. Now we want to do something clever. Since this is basically symmetrical on one axis, we want to replicate that. So to do that, all we're going to create is right-clicking on this and subdivide it. Or actually, not subdivide it. Let's unsubdivide. Let's create a loop cut. So we can create a loop cut over here. Just click on it, simple and easy. And that's it. And now we go back to our tool, we select these 2 vertices and we destroy them, pressing delete. And it's important to understand that if we go, there are 2 types of removing vertices. There's this vertices that is like the hardcore delete, and this is dissolve vertices, which is the soft core, meaning that it does not destroy the geometry, it only removes the vertex. So we're going to hardcore delete them, and we only have half of this plane right now. But with half of the plane, we want to mirror it on this side, so we don't do double the work. We can just copy paste it afterwards, but we can do this from the beginning. So to do that, we're gonna go here on this modifier. We're gonna select the modifier we want. There's a lot of them. It's kind of like path effects in a way. And we're gonna select mirror. Now, right now we cannot see it because we're mirroring on the X and we want to mirror it on the Y axis, right? Like this. So, oh, and also click this stupid thing, prevents vertices from going through the mirror during the transformation. Basically what he means, if you go back into edit mode with tab, if I select this thing and if I press G and move it like this, you see it's moving, it's overlapping and it's looking pretty bad. But if we select clipping here, now if I select G, it does not allow me to go on the y-axis on that side. So it's kind of a, I don't know how to say. It's fixed there in the center. It's glued. So it does not leave the glued axis, which is very important. But it only happens only when they reach the x-axis, because for this one, it's all right. I can move it however I wish. But the moment I hit this, you can see I cannot go any further. Perfecto. So how can we make this plane look like a spoon, you might ask? And that is a very good question. So there is one rule. Well, there are many rules, but this rule is like this. If we have 4 points and I do things like this, I'm not using the tablet, it's the mouse right now. This is called the quad, whatever. Imagine it's a square. If you have this, it's a triangle. Obviously, you do not want triangles. And if you have this, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is called an n-gon. You don't want this or this. This is because when you have quads, it's much easier to create new geometry that goes along all of your object, all of your mesh, all of the surface. When you have this, it will be extremely difficult to add new geometry and so on. Now I've created this. The question is, oh, whoops. Yeah, I didn't know how to remove it. Anyway, I'm learning. Is it still, did I mess it up? Okay, everything is all right. Everything is all right. So we're just gonna work into edit mode from now on. So what do we know about a spoon? A spoon is deep on this side, and uh, this is kind of on the same height, I suppose. So we can take our loop and, well, hmm, hmm. Yeah, we definitely need a loop. So we will create a loop over here. Well, the other way to create a loop is to press Ctrl R. Ooh. Okay, like that. Ctrl R. And just setting your loops like this. Or if you press Ctrl R, you have a bit more control over where you want to place the line. So I can place it here. I can do another Ctrl R. I can place it somewhere here. And there we go. Now we have something that we can play with. So if we look here, we see that it's kind of squarish in here, and then we have this shape and this shape. So we need to add 1, 2. So in order to do those two, we're just gonna add another cut over here. And for this one, we select this, we press G, and now it's kind of moving stupidly all over the place. Oh, I forgot to activate the clip. So in order to avoid that, we either double tap G and we move it like this, or we press G and then we press X and we can only move on the X-axis. Or we can click this and drag it like this. Anyways, it's confusing, I know, but it's far easier to work with the short keys than it is to just click every button sometimes. It's situational, but I find it easier to just press G and then X and move it down the axis like this. Anyway, so now what we want to do is look at this and we see that, hey, it's going like this. It's a handle. So we select the last part, then we extrude, we press E. Extrude is this one. So it's just telling us to extrude, we just press E or Shift space E. But if I'm gonna press this, we have to extrude it like so. And it's a bit weird. So I'm going to press E, then X, and extrude it like, maybe like this, whatever. Now, obviously this part is going to be wider, this is gonna be thinner. We'll resolve that in a moment. But to get to that, as I said, this part is on the same level as the tip. So we have to make a dip. So in order to make a dip, we select this part. Yeah, so now let's talk about a few things. We can select vertices, we can select edges, and then we can select planes. But we're gonna just stick to vertices because it's a bit easier for us and we can control each point. So we're gonna dip this by pressing G again, but this time we're going to press X to be on the X-axis. go a bit like this. And we already have created the shape. But obviously this is incorrect because the shape has to come kind of, well, this one has to be higher. So I'm just gonna press GX again, Z again, go a bit higher. And now only for these two, GZ again, like so. So we kind of create the cup. I don't know if that makes sense. You can also work directly from the angles, from the views, if it helps you. But I find it a bit easier to just work directly on the spot and kind of eyeball things. Now, the tip is more close together, as is the back. So we're going to select, let's see, it's kind of the same. So basically I'm gonna select both of this and this. And this, press G and Y, because we're moving on the Y, and go a little bit closer. Now, why do I say we need quads? Because if we want to add an extra line, like with Control R, you see it goes all the way around. So if you want to have more geometry that is correctly placed, then you don't want the line to end here, because maybe you want to do more things around certain areas and control the geometry as easy as possible. So quads are the safest bet. Okay, so clearly this one needs to be even more closer to the center. So I'm just gonna press G twice, just move it like so. I'm gonna do this the same, G twice, close. G twice, close. Okay, it's starting to look like something. Now these two have to be pushed in. So let's press G twice. Oh, I have to press GY, sorry. And maybe even closer. Let me select the plane. So I selected the plane with number 3, because you go on 1, 2, 3. Things you will learn over time. Okay, so it's starting to look a little better. Maybe this one closer as well. GY. Okay. So now we also want to push this one inwards. GY. This one closer. GY. And this one definitely more closer. GY. It's starting to look like a spoon. But now we observe something else. This is wider here and less wide here. So we have to kind of bring in double tap G, double tap G, and this one GY, because if I double tap that, it's gonna go on the axis downward, so we don't want that. So this is looking a bit better, but we can make it even better. For example, we can press for this one GX and push it a bit forward. The same for this one, GX. And voila. It's starting to look like something. Now, interestingly enough, this part should be deeper than this part. So we're gonna raise this 3 a little higher. So we're gonna press G, Z, because we're going on the Z axis. And also, we see in our image that this curvature kind of convexes over to this spot. So it's not going to go from this center, but we can actually push this a little forward. So I'm going to tap double G and push it a little bit like so. Maybe even more. Let's tap double G. So now it's kind of leaving everything down there, and the same has to happen here. We're going inwards a bit to create that internal sphere-like effect. So we can push G like this, and G like this, and a little bit of G like this. Maybe even more. Let's go a bit more. And now we can kind of see that it's getting there. Maybe this one a bit more. Yeah. But right now we have a very little geometry to it. So of course we're not seeing a lot of the spoon. And of course this spoon can bend a little bit here. But if we go back into our object mode and see the full spoon now, there is a little trick which is called object and then shade smooth. And we can kind of see that it makes it look a bit smoother. If we add a bit of light and we go into the other modes over here, we could kind of get like, let me try to rotate it a bit. Can kind of get something. Obviously, this has no texture, no nothing. So we're getting close to it, but right now everything is a plane. So we could actually do something sneakier. Since this is a plane, we could give it a thickness. And to do that in a non-destructive way, because right now we're working non-destructively, we go to the modifier, add a new modifier, and it's called solidify. And the solidify, let me remove this. So we're going to remove the shade. The solidify gives it a little bit of thickness. And we might want a bit more. Now, this is not necessarily the best solution because maybe you want more thickness on this side than this side. There are ways around that, but eventually we are going to apply the geometry. So I'm going to make this a bit thicker, like so. So it's going towards the bottom on the z-axis. We can kind of see that it respects the geometry. So now if I go like this, we can see parts of it, but we can only see the plane that we are working on. If we enable this, it allows us to do some sneaky things to it and maybe even thicken it on some parts. For example, let's take this one. Oh, it doesn't allow me. Yeah, because we have to apply the geometry. But since we don't want this to complicate things right now at this stage, we're just gonna disable it using this real-time show. So we're just gonna stay on the plane. Don't worry too much about these modifiers. These are just here to work non-destructively, because if I disable them, we're still having half of our plane that we've been working on, so nothing changes. These modifiers are just there to help us. And if we want to apply them, we just click apply. Well, we have to be in object mode. Object, and then we can apply them. And if I apply it, bam, now I have the entire thing editable on the other side. But we do not want that. Bring it back. I hope we can bring it back. Perfecto. So A spoon in general uh, kind of has a few extra things. So it bends downwards a bit. And here you have a little bit of a bump and the rest remains straight. So we're going to create extra geometry by adding Control R, adding, oh, come on, where are you adding it? Can't see the whole thing. So Control R, it's adding it over there. Now I just pull it closer like this. And we're going to add another Control R over here and add it a little bit closer like this. Now, this doesn't change anything at the moment, but we could do a bit of trickery here. So we can take all of these vertices over here and I'm gonna go G, Z, and I'm gonna go a little slight lower, just a little, not much. And the same to these ones, G, Z, and just a tiny bit less, like so. So we can look from this side, maybe it helps us better, G, Z. Maybe I can even push this one a bit more to the this, and this one a bit more like this. We give it more, maybe even more. When I'm moving it like this, it's only applying it to the y-axis. So it can't go to the x or anything like that. So it looks okay-ish. Maybe this one, I accidentally pushed it too much. G, Y, oh, sorry, X. Yeah, it should look okay-ish now. And there are many ways to do this, but if we want to make this a bit more roundish, we have to add more geometry. So I would add it like this, and maybe a bit like this. And now I can control the geometry by going G, Y, and I can go a little bit inwards. And voila. And I think we can apply this here as well. Control R, go a bit closer. Control R, go a bit closer. Yeah, let's look from the Z top. I'm gonna move this a tiny bit inwards. This one a tiny bit like this. And now it looks much, much better. Maybe this one can go a bit back as well. So it's not super sharp. Maybe even more. We're not in the Z axis. And we obviously do not want it to be sharp here at the front, but we could push it just a tiny bit, like so. And I think it looks roundish enough. Let's look at our... I think we kind of got the feeling to it. It looks roundish. If we feel like it's too much into the back, GX, and I just push it a little bit more. Probably this one has to be a bit more outwards. Pushed it too much. GY. And I'm gonna push this one as well. GY. Maybe a bit more like this. Yeah, I think it's starting to look like that. And now we have to look at this part. Sorry, from this side. This one will also have to go a bit down. So we're going to select this and this. And we're going to push them slightly down. G, Z, a little bit. And this one we want to raise it a little bit. So I'm going to add another thing over here, Control R, maybe a bit more, GG, GG, and select this 4 over here and go G, Z and push it up a little. And maybe for this one, so I'm gonna push it a little lower. G, Z, and these ones. See, this is a problem. Right now, all of them are on the same axis, so we can only select the first one that we see. So in order to avoid that, we select the wireframe, and if I'm in the Z version right now, I select all of them, see? When you're in the wireframe. So I'm just pushing them G, Z a little lower. This one can go a bit higher, G, Z. Maybe this one a little higher as well. Okay, so let's go back to our normal mode. Now this doesn't look too fancy, and I'm gonna do something crazy here. I'm gonna take this one, so I'm gonna push them a little bit back. And actually, I'm gonna add another one over around here. And these ones, I'm gonna push them high a little. So let's go back into our Y. I'm gonna push this into G, Z. It's gonna look a tiny bit like this. This one more maybe. Oh, select all of them. Oh, I can't select all of them because I'm not in wireframe. Whatever. G, Z. Okay, okay. It's not looking too shabby. And now I'm gonna add a little bit extra geometry over here. And we want to add this geometry, so we could select this and kind of form a curve here. G, Z, like so. Yeah, I think it looks decent. Now, clearly this is gonna be thicker, so we have to kind of bring them inwards. So I'm gonna select this. There's Control Shift and click. Select the first one, Control Shift and click. Select this one, or you have to select them individually. So if I select Control, so I select this one and I Control Shift, press down, and then I click this, it's gonna select like this selection. Or I can do normal selection. I can go like in Z format. Oops, Z. You press Shift and middle click to span to pan. I know, annoying. And then you select the ones you want like this, if it's easier. So we know that, actually no, I'm gonna select only these ones. I'm gonna come G and Y. You can look on the over here to see which axis is coming from this side. I can make them even closer. G, Y, and even closer. G, Y. close. And we can see that it's starting to look like something. Yeah, I do like it. Clearly, these are some ornamental things that will be added later on. I shall see how we'll add them. But right now, it does look like a spoon. And if we apply our thickness, well, maybe it is a bit more bent here. So we can go here and push a bit more, G, Z. And if this one is still too high, we're gonna push this one's a little lower as well, G, Z. A little, I said. And then maybe a bit of these ones as well. Let's try. G, Z. Yeah, I do like it. Well, small little tweaks here and there. Maybe it's even more accentuated than this, but it does look like a spoon. If it feels like a spoon and it looks like a spoon, that it's a spoon. Stop complaining about it. I'm not gonna do these ornamental things because, well, maybe we could. So basically, we would have to. Let me remove this. So if we look at this, it goes like in rectangular, angled rectangular thing. So basically, we would have to extrude it, to push it around here. So I'm gonna add another one here. And if I push this one, G, Y, it's gonna feel like kind of like that. Obviously, you can round it and do all sorts of things. Maybe it's a bit bigger than this. So I'm gonna push this double G and double G. Yeah, with the thickness, kind of like there. Clearly there is like an internal thing happening here. This is like kind of hollowed through. But we're gonna simplify the geometry right now. Later on, we can actually edit the geometry to look kind of like that if we want. We don't want to make one-on-one, we just want to make the general shape. So we can add a little extra one over here as well. So again, Control R, push it here, Control R, and Control R. So three of them, select this one, G, Y, and there we go. Ah, looks fancy. Looks super fancy. To achieve this kind of a detail with all sorts of little ornaments on it, we would have to have a lot more geometry than this. We would have to, the density of the geometry and the vertices and so on would have to be a lot higher. But we're trying to keep it low poly. So for this, we're just gonna concentrate on simplicity. So here is kind of where it gets complicated because this one is hollow. So we can kind of start from this. This is why I made this part segmented over here. So we can start from over here and we can add a few segments here, like so. So let's kind of analyze. So it could be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 segments maybe. Let's try 6. So I can press Control R, drag it here. Oh no, Control R. Ah, damn it. So Control R, not click anything, and scroll up and do as many of these as I want. So I'm gonna put one more. Yeah. Just gonna drag them here. I'll have to do them individually a little. Oh, G, X. GX, GX, and GX. Maybe even more closer to this. GX. So this is going to create the interior hole. Now, how do we do that? Well, remember that I told you that now this one I cannot move from on the y-axis, no matter how hard I try. Well, we unclip it and we select the things that we want to detach from the center. Let me go into X. Select like so. And now if I press G, Y, ta-da! And G, G, Y. Oh, that's not good. What did I do? I sliced it with Y. Yeah, you slice it with Y. That's so silly. G, Y. So it's important to know what you press. And G, Y. Okay. Now, clearly, if we look at this, it does not have the same thickness as over here. So we are going to, well, first of all, this one is kind of a segment in between these two circles. So we're going to make them closer. Well, let me disable this so it's not getting inside our. So Control Shift, select the first one, then Control Shift, select this one. If I press it G, Y, I'm gonna go closer. Control Shift, G, oh, sorry, what the hell? G, Y. Now it's important that this kind of ends here, so the circle will have to be careful with this. Control Shift G, Y. Closer. Control Shift G, Y. Okay, I think that looks goodish, but of course the problem is that right now it's not very circular, so we'll have to push a few things. GX. Well, let's re-enable the clipping so we don't do anything stupid. Or no, let's leave it. Or no, let's leave it so we don't move this one by accident. We're gonna move this GX. This one again, GX. So we're not pushing the back. We're still on this axis. We're not changing the geometry. This one, GX. Well, it's not roundish enough. Now this is becoming complicated, isn't it? Let's look from the top. This one definitely GX. Maybe even closer. And we need to make it a bit rounder, so we're gonna select all of this, GY, GY, and maybe this one a little less, GY, a little interior. I don't think that looks bad. I kind of eyeballed everything, so I'm not doing proportions super clearly. This one can be a bit closer. GX. Ah, it is what it is. If we need to add more geometry, yeah, adding more geometry would complicate things because we would have to bring this one closer. And we don't want perfect circles, to be honest. Obviously, maybe this one can be a bit, sorry, and I can play here like GX, like bring it so, GX and bring it so, but I don't know, because there is quite a large segment. These two are quite large segments, so I would need to add an extra segment, and it's complicating things. Let's just leave it as it is. Or you can just add this and play a little bit like this. Oh, does that help? GX. Oh, I think this helps. Okay. Okay, we solved the problem. Crisis averted. Control R. I just move this one G. Whatever. Yeah, I think that looks more roundish. Whatever. It is what it is. I don't know, for some reason this one, but it's the same. Weird. Maybe a bit more to the right. There are ways to align vertices and so on, but let's not overkill it. So we have our first circle, and for the second one is filled, so we don't have to bother too much. We can just create the circle. Well, there are other ways to do this. For example, I could add Shift A and I could add a circle. But here we have to say maybe 12 vertices. And then if I press S, I make it smaller. And then if I press G and X, I go here. I don't know. I'm not sure. Because right now, well, yeah, this is not good. Let's select everything. And let's, how was it? P? No, not Control P. I think I'm doing something stupid. Yeah, let's select this P selections and separate it. So I'm going to fill this with F. Oh, sorry, Tab. Select everything with A and then press F. And make it a bit Make it a bit smaller. Hey, what are you doing? And move it on closer. And now if I select this with this and I say Control J, it should combine them. But this is such a horrible idea. And I'll explain. Now, if I press Control R, you can see I can do this, but I cannot affect this. Yeah, horrible idea. Don't do this. Don't do this. Let's just delete everything. So, yeah, let's be smart. Control. So we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Actually, I'm gonna. So if you press S for scaling and X for bringing them closer on the X scale, like like so. I'm gonna move them a little bit closer to the other one, GX, something like so. And now, I don't know why I'm in that mode. Anyway, and now we make sure that our clipping is deselected, and we select this part, GY, GY. I'm doing something stupid. No. I said this one is gonna be closed. So we can do GY like so. GY like so. GY like so. And GY like so. Okay, that looks good. I'm gonna bring this in closer. Clipping GX and GX a little closer like this. GX and GX. Okay, so that should look fantastic. So just gonna move this double G like so. Double G like so. Double G. Double G. And now we want to make it kind of circular. So let's eyeball this GY. Oh, sorry. Only this. GY. 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 And maybe GY like so. GX. I think it looks circular enough. I'm not sure. And for this one, we can simply just make a simple circle. We can make it a separate object for that one, actually. So basically, we can do exactly what I did earlier. Shift A. I'm gonna go a circle here. I'm gonna make it smaller. GX. No, smaller. like something like so. And now I'm not sure. Grid fill. Yeah. So now we can see that, well, it's still inside the object, but it's two different meshes. So this one is independent from this one, because this one cannot affect this one, for example. Although you can make them separate if you want, but I think it looks okay like this. So now we just give it back our thickness. Ta-da! And we have our spoon. And there is one more thing we can do extra. Of course, it's not perfect and it's super rudimentary and it needs a lot of work. Obviously, this is a complex object, but we try to make it as simple as possible. Now we can go select this. We can go and give it a texture. Ta-da! We can go to colors. And wait, isn't this the one? Maybe it wasn't texture. Maybe it was material that I needed to give it. Yeah, material. I give it a material. We are gonna make it kind of like so. And I don't remember, metallic maybe. And that makes it shine. Let's give it a shade smooth. Yeah. Well, not perfect, but not the worst. The thing with this kind of weird glitches is happening because we would need to give a bit of extra geometry. So in order to avoid this issue, we're gonna go into this mode. We're gonna add a new thing, and I'm gonna push it like so. Close, very, very, very close. If I go back into this, we can see that it looks a bit more constrained. And if we look into the material, yeah, looks much better. This is usually happening around the edges, so you have to play around. For this one, well, you can't really control everything. This would require more geometry to avoid creating this kind of artifacts. And now, of course, our light also plays a key role, depending on where we set it up. But there we go. And if we want to render it, let me just hide this, this reference. If we want to render it, we're gonna take the camera, which is this one. I'm gonna select it. And we can go here on view. If this doesn't show, press N. We select view. We go to camera to view. Oh, I'm not in the camera. Damn it. How was it? View. Active camera. Yeah. And now we can kind of position. This is how it will be rendered. So right now I selected camera to view because I can move the camera while I'm moving the view. So for example, if I want to rotate a bit like this, and now if I go into render, let me just save a moment. I go to render, render image. You can also render animation, but that's a different thing. And ta-da, it's rendered. And you just save it wherever you wish. And this is our spoon. Ah, I've made a little mess over here. Probably I have, let's see if we can correct this. So let's get out of camera view. I'm gonna deselect this so we don't click it by accident. If you click the tile across above the tab, we can get out of camera view. So we've made a small mistake over here. Probably we have moved, no? Then we need to add an extra, yeah, an extra thing over here. And an extra thing over here. Kind of mitigate these openings. And everything else should look all rightish. Oops. It's possible that maybe we can mitigate some of this by bringing it a little bit like so. So that complicates things over here in this corner, geometrically speaking. So don't highly recommend you do this way. Now if we look at it, it looks a bit cleaner. And if we try to render it, F12, yeah, I guess we can say that it is a success and the spoon looks like a spoon. Clearly we can do much better than this, but I used as few vertices as possible, and especially if you're gonna design things for games and so on, you want to keep them as simple as possible. Of course, texturing, painting, and so on, and doing other things like normal maps and whatever, it will add much more flair and far more versatility to the how this spoon will look like. But I think we're getting close. So, in other words, it's as easy as working in Inkscape with vertices, but we're just using an extra axis to go around and positioning things. And unfortunately, you have to use the options here to move because we cannot move like click and drag a vertices, unfortunately. I really tried, but I didn't find a solution for that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you make your own spoons and your own characters to use the spoons and eat their porridge and cakes and whatever you think. Maybe do alter cutlery, such as knives and forks. Whatever you wish. Your imagination is boundless. Okay, guys, stay awesome. I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye, 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 bye.